What is going on, everybody? I hope you're all having yourselves a fantastic Thursday night. I thank you all for tuning in to another edition of On the Road to Victory. I'm your host, Jimmy Smith. With me tonight is a special guest from 4th and Jawn, Mr. Hollywood himself, Evan Hearn. Evan, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me, brother. Jimmy, it's always a pleasure. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing fantastic. Just got done watching the Sixers. Nice 14-point win.
Yeah, always a great. We were just saying how we thought maybe a little Brett Brown action was going on at the end there. Started to slip a little bit, but I'm excited to talk some Eagles. Get back into what I know.
For sure. And, I get excited, 4-for-4 guy. I know you are too. We get excited about the other things, but always happy to talk about our birds. So that's exactly what we're going to get into tonight, guys. If you guys have any questions, any comments, please throw them our way. We're going to get into some of the free agents that we have coming up. And, last time we had Evan on, we wanted to get into some of the available free agents that were on offense, talking about bolstering up this offense. And, a lot of questions. How are we going to do that? We don't have money. I get it. So we're going to get into a little bit of that as well. Totally understand it, guys. And everybody's out for blood with Howie. So we're going to be talking about some of the things we can do. Maybe some of these guys that we could have some interest in on the offensive side of the ball. We're going to have Evan on again, hopefully next week, and we're going to talk about the defense. But tonight, we realize how much we get into things, so we're going to stick with the offense and go from there. So you guys have any names you like, anything like that, throw them our way. But Evan, how you been doing this week, man? What have you been up to? Let these people know where they can find you at, man.
Thank you for having me again. You can find me at Hollywood Hearn on Twitter, at Evan Hearn on pretty much any of my other social medias. But I haven't really been up to much, man. I've been keeping myself busy with work, going to war with project managers at my job, as I always do. That's just part of my job. But yeah, dude, it's always a pleasure to be able to sit here and talk the birds, man. Because I honestly, I'm sitting here, I'm trying to wrap my head around exactly how we're going to get underneath this cap number, because we've got so many holes to fill and we've got so little money to play with. It's going to take some fancy maneuvering in order to get back into a more satisfying position here.
That it will, and that is something we're definitely going to get into tonight. And, I think thank you for taking the time tonight. I hope you guys will check him out at Hollywood Hearn. Glad to hear you're doing well. But let's jump into it. Now, we're going to get into this bird talk, but one thing that intrigued me the other day that I thought maybe you would like to hear about, they have been talking about the owners' meeting. They're going to bring up, once again, the one shell rule, talking about the possibility of having a couple games with those throwback Kelly green uniforms. Evan, how would you feel about getting those? And how do you feel about this stupid ass one shell rule?
Yeah, so first of all, I think it is. I feel like it's stupid just to have that rule where you're limiting the amount of jerseys that a team is able to dress with. But ultimately, I think that there's so many people that in my age range that love the Kelly green. We grew up, my entire life, I've known the midnight green Eagles. And that, don't get me wrong, I like the jersey, but I love that throwback retro look. And it seems like all of the people that I know that are older, in their 40s, 50s, my father included, they don't like the Kelly green. They like the midnight green because they say, we won the Super Bowl in the midnight green. We didn't win shit in the Kelly green. That's kind of their whole mentality behind it. But I got to be honest with you, I think they look pretty fly. I love a retro Eagles jersey. I think they look really cool.
They do. And, it's crazy, the age difference here. It just goes to show, because I remember being a little boy, and when I was at my uncle's house and they got the paper and they were talking about how the Eagles were going to change into this midnight green. And dude, before social media and stuff was anything big. So I mean, wild times.
What did you think
myself,
when they first went to the midnight green? Did you like it originally? You think it was a nice switch up? Were you like kind of standoffish on it?
I was a little kid, and I thought the green was cool that we had. But when we got that midnight green, I just thought that color was the coolest. And I had every damn shirt I could find, everything. I had to switch it up because it was like, oh, I can't wear the old green anymore. So my dad was like, all right, well, sure enough, we're donned in midnight green, and I loved every second of it. But for me, I think what it does for me is it brings me back to the memory of my dad. My dad was buried with his throwback Reggie White, Kelly Green jersey. So it's like, that's something. I love the Kelly Greens, and it's not like we're taking away midnight green. I don't want to change that. But what would you feel actually about, like, I've seen, people are crazy with Photoshop and everything. I've seen people add like a little bit of black into that. I think that would be a pretty sharp idea.
That would pop for sure. And you actually just brought me to my next point, is that, like, I thought that when they introduced the black jerseys, and what was that, like the mid 2000s, bro, I thought they were the coolest things out there. The black jerseys I had, I think the first black jersey I got, it was either a black Dante Stallworth or a black Terrell Owens jersey. One obviously way better than the other, but
I think Westbrook was mine again.
Yeah, but I thought that those black jerseys were sharp, but to add a little bit of black flair into that Kelly Green, that would look nice, man. That would look real nice.
I think so too. You got that silver, you got the Kelly Green. Eagles Inc. mentions here the white helmet with the green going way back. My dad actually had that 1960s Eagle tattooed on him, so that's a logo I always remember. And cool. It's just something, to reminisce on. And I just think, for some people, it's something to go back to. But the logo was cool. I think it'd be fun. You see other teams, at least the Broncos are able to get away with it. They just use the dark blue instead of the light blue. But it's just so dumb. Like, you're a multi-billion-dollar company, the NFL, dude, and you don't have the, come on, man, two shells. These guys are actually going through two shells. You just won't change color.
Right, exactly. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And I know that the jerseys are available. Like, you can get like Dawkins throwback jersey, like in the old retro colors, or even like any of the people that are on today. But like, I just think that if you were to kind of expose people more to these jerseys, you would think from a business sense that would generate more sales, don't you think? If you give out more jerseys that are available, I would think that would be good for business. But what do I know?
Correct. And I said the same thing the other day. I mean, you want to make more money? That's how you do it. And people are still going to buy the throwbacks, especially at a time right now when you're like, who should I buy? Because this guy's just going to be traded or cut next week. So,
what was your thoughts on the yellow and blue, though? Because I got to be honest, I thought those were pretty.
I hated them. Gail says he hated the midnight green, man. That's wild.
Gail. Come on, bro.
Hating on the midnight green. Now, the green was traditional, so some people were a little, I don't want to.
And he's also speaking in the past tense. It makes me feel like he kind of came around on that.
Yes. And I had a couple people in my family, so I totally get it. Oh, you don't change. No, this is how it's been. The Kelly Green, I don't want to see this midnight. And then when you see it a couple times, you're like, it's kind of sharp. I'm going to be real with you.
Yeah.
So I think, Gail, I think he came around, but dude, there's the Yellow Jacket jerseys, bro. And I remember seeing so many effing people the next year rocking these things, and we never wore them again. But to this day,
they wore them on the 75th anniversary, I believe. Of the franchise, and that I remember I saw so many Westbrook yellow and blue jerseys, the McNabb yellow and blue.
Kevin Curtis,
It was ugly, man.
That Kevin Curtis was a real popular one. That huge game against the Detroit Lions. I remember. But look, wearing that, obviously, that was the game. I think, Kevin Curtis, he was intriguing, had some injuries, but, those jerseys, I don't care who was playing in them. They were just atrocious. And I'm sorry for anybody that wears that jersey, but I'm letting you know that 90% of the fan base is looking at you like, ugh. We want to buy you a different one.
Really, the only uglier jersey I could think of that exists would be the Steelers Bumblebee outfits that they got going on, because those are pathetically bad.
Yeah, dude. Eagles Inc. says 99%. It might be, because those things are bad. And I think even Steelers fans, I'm surrounded by those where I live now. And Wow, dude, they even hate those. Like, what are we wearing? But it's always like the girlfriend like has them or bought him one. He's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I wear it because she got it. It's like, oh, man, like
You poor guy.
that sucks. But yeah, you won't ever catch me in that Frankfurt yellow jacket.
Nah, no, thank you. But who can we get in some midnight green, man? Because I know that the way our bank account is set up.
Well, let me jump into that for you first, because a lot of people have this question, and a lot of people reach out, and it's like, hey, I know you don't always have the time to check out the shows, but I try to relay this information as much as I possibly can, because it is a scary situation. And you remember on the 4th and Jawn show, pregame, postgame, all year we talked about what impending doom was coming up. So one of the things I always try to mention was the fact that Howie, one thing he, gets a lot of credit for was, it's a cap. Well, he put us in this hell, and he's going to do the same thing that he usually does, and that's a lot of restructuring. But this time around, he's going to have to actually cut bait with a lot of the older guys. Already see that, it's happening. Deshaun Jackson, he was let go this week.
Alshon.
We all knew that was going to happen. And then Alshon and Malik Jackson, they were restructured, about a month ago. That was surprising why they were bringing that news up this week. I was like, we know, because they are getting a post-June 1st designation. And what that means is the money will count as if it was June 1st, and they had a restructure where they're both only like $2 million in base salary. So that really helps out our cap situation. What's going to happen is we're going to save around like $17, $18 million by releasing them within probably the week. It's going to be before March 17th, the league year. And that's where it begins. And, so when you cut them, that'll happen. And then actually when June 1st happens, then you'll actually get $2 million more from both those guys. So
nice.
That'll be exciting. So you're looking at around
it's all about chipping away.
Yep. So right now we're at like 43 mil after the Deshaun Jackson and Carson Wentz moves. You see varying reports on Over the Cap and Spotrac or Spot Rack, however the hell you say it. Over the Cap, though, they are the ones I go with because I usually get teabagged when I roll with Spot Rack. They're not spotting my stack. So, anyways, we're looking at around 43 mil. That's what it's about. If the cap is set at $180 million, that was good news that we heard. That was something that we were all questioning. It was supposed to be maybe around 175 million. Yep. Now it's going to be at least 180. There's talks that maybe it goes up to 185. That would be an extra 5 mil for us. So let's hope for that.
Stimmy season.
Yeah, baby. So you're looking at around 20-ish million, a little over right there. If we get that extra 5, that's around 18 mil. Now, if you're looking at the biggest cap hits right now, where we're taking on offense and defense, there are some big chunkers there, ladies and gentlemen. So one thing I've been talking about, Evan, is you got to restructure Lane Johnson and Brandon Brooks right there, 2 monster cap hits, back end their money or guarantee it, give it to them up front, whatever you got to do. That's what Howie's good at. Restructure those babies, get them to the back end. Zach Ertz, you're seeing a 12.47 salary cap hit. One thing I wanted to ask you about, this is something that I think is inevitable, and I think we did talk about this before, but some people don't want to come to terms with it. But will Zach Ertz be traded? I do believe so. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a total possibility. I think that this is something that I have actually I've been quietly on the bandwagon of for a little bit now. Because Zach Ertz is one of those people. He's a favorite here, especially amongst the ladies in Philadelphia. You don't want to go talking too loudly with your back talk about Zach Ertz. But ultimately, like you said, he's a huge cap hit for us. And ultimately, what I saw this past year was somewhat of a blossoming and some hope out of Dallas Goedert and like supplemental help from a player like Richard Rodgers. Like what this offense showed me this year, as bad as it was, is that they can operate without Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz kind of shot himself in the foot earlier in the year, and he was, with this argument with Howie Roseman, and they were just causing a rift in the locker room, and he kind of was distanced. He distanced himself in this offense, and that ended up kind of being a blessing in disguise for me because I was able to see that this tight end room is able to succeed without Zach Ertz. So I think it's 100% a possibility Zach Ertz could be traded for hopefully some more draft picks.
For sure. And that's something, we speak about a lot, adding draft capital. We already did that with Carson Wentz, getting a third this year and a possible first next, definite second. And you talk about Ertz, maybe you get a 4th rounder, maybe a 5th. We'll see how he does. I'd love to get a 3rd, but I don't know if that's possible because the new team's going to know he wants a new contract. So that has some weight with it. Now, I think that's definitely going to happen once it's gone. If you're looking at the unrestricted, the restricted, and well, actually, there's no exclusive rights tight ends, but you see Richard Rodgers is a restricted. I think you bring him back. And they actually did sign a reserve futures contract with Kroom. So there's another one we have. And then you have Perkins as an unrestricted free agent. I'm not sure if you bring him back. It's a guy that can play tight end, wide receiver. That's nice and all, but I think we could address that in the draft.
I totally agree. I think that ultimately, if we're moving into this year with Dallas Goedert as a tight end 1, Richard Rodgers as a 2, you can find that tight end 3 either, in the back end of free agency or in the drafts for sure.
Well, yep, I'm going to show you the list right here. We're going to talk about some of these free agents. We're going to get right into the tight ends because Ertz is probably the most likely that's going to save you. You saw the cap hit was about 12.47. We're actually only going to save about 4.8 million, and then we're going to take over $8 million dead money cap hit. So we just keep going up, dude. We're almost going to hit 50 mil. We're probably going to go over 50 mil in dead money this year.
Oh my gosh!
Hell. So we talk about the draft. We'll see. Maybe a guy like Kyle Pitts in this offense, maybe.
And speaking of over $50 million in dead money, there was also another rumor that was floating around on the timeline today, causing some waves. How about all the Russell Wilson trade talk? Did that catch you by surprise today? Because I saw that and I was like, what?
I had no idea things
were that bad.
All I said was, son of a bitch. And my girlfriend goes, what? I said, this mother. I go, so Russell Wilson, apparently, he doesn't want to be traded. But if he were to be traded, these are the teams he likes. And he's got a list, dude. He's talking about the Saints. He's talking about the Bears, the Raiders. And then, of course, the most hated team in America, Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys suck.
The thought of Russell Wilson in a Dallas Cowboys uniform horrifies me.
Please, God, no.
Horrifies me.
Yes, I do not. Dak Prescott's good, too.
But he's not Russell Wilson.
He's not. And a lot of people, someone made a comment on YouTube the other day. And if you're watching right now, I apologize. But my parents taught me when I was younger, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. And the video was of Jalen Hurts highlights and me talking him up. Literally, I was just excited about Jalen Hurts, trying to get some positivity out there.
Yep.
And his comments were leading to the fact that Jalen Hurts was already better than Russell Wilson. Look, I'm the biggest Eagles fan there is, guys. And I'm not saying bigger than anybody else. I'm just saying, we're all diehards here. But Jesus Christ. Look, Jalen Hurts is not better than Russell Wilson right now. That's insane. Russell Wilson is insanely good. He has no offensive line, and look what he did.
Was that Tyrone Biggums that put that tweet out there?
It must have been. I felt like I was getting trolled straight up, and I was like, this is.
Yeah, that has to be a straight up troll job, because if you genuinely think that a guy that has played 4 games in the NFL and you're going to compare him to a guy that won a Super Bowl, was that his rookie year? He won that Super Bowl? Was it the following year? Doesn't matter.
It wasn't his rookie year. No.
Yeah. Well, the point is that Russell Wilson is an absolute animal. He's been dominant ever since he entered the league, and to compare the two is just comical.
Yeah, dude. I think even if you would just say, I think one day he's going to be better, I'd say, man, you're crazy. But hey, you never know. But coming out and saying he already is, dude, I don't even know, because I saw a small 4.5 game sample size with him at the helm, and it was with a rookie season with no preseason, crazy offseason. Look, guys, I have high hopes for him. I'm hoping Nick Sirianni, Shane Steichen, Brian Johnson, Kevin Petula, all the guys in this staff can really help him. I just named off like the offensive coordinator and the quarterback's coach, just those guys. I'm not going to go through all the coaches, but you know what I mean? Just the guys that have actually worked with quarterbacks, guys that have worked with receivers, guys that are going to help this damn offense. And I am a little bit excited about it. And I think, if we add the right weapons, we add the right tools around Jalen Hurts, I think this team could pretty damn good. Holy shnikes, he says about Fletch. We'll get to Fletch in a second here. Please, God, no, don't put Wilson with those receivers. Yeah, I will shoot myself in the face. Let's let everybody remember here
Yeah.
at the bottom.
Oh, yeah. Let
You
it
know,
roll.
I just really think that, that would be the most insane thing we'd ever have to deal with twice a year, and I would hate it. I truly would. So, well, let's just hope that doesn't happen. Why, God? Why do you want to go to the Cowboys? Like, what, dude? I don't. Whatever, dude. You little troll. That pisses me off, to be honest with you. But now back to the tight ends, getting a little carried away. I hate the damn Cowboys, but a great question though, Evan, because that got me honestly blown away. I just was like, man.
I had the same reaction. I was like, please.
So what we are going to need to do is, if that's the case, is improve our offense even more. We're obviously going to John Madden it and say, you got to score more points if you want to win the game. So we're going to need to put up a lot of points. And, this defense, we hope that it's vastly improved. It's going to be a big overturn, a lot of young guys. But hoping that Jonathan Gannon can do some things with this team that he did with the Indianapolis Colts. So excited. Now, let's get to these tight ends we were talking about. Dak Ertz's probably gone. Maybe Richard Rodgers is back. Maybe you get back Josh Perkins. But if not, you're only dealing with Crew, Goddard, and that's your tight end room right there.
Yep.
So here's a list of the tight ends that are available. Now, guys like Gronk, Hunter Henry, I don't think, or Cook. But Jonnu Smith, I think that's probably a name.
That's the one. That's the one that popped off the page to me, and I was kind of sitting here thinking, do you think that he has kind of earned himself some? Like, do you think he's in our price range? Because I got to be honest, with all the other holes that we got to fill, I love Jonnu Smith. I love what he's done with the Titans. I think he's a real explosive player, but I just don't know if we got the capital in order to be able to bring him in. We might be looking more in the Gerald Everett, Jacob Hollister section of the store, is what I'm thinking.
I love it. We'll get into those in a second, but I wanted to touch on you saying Jonnu Smith. I think that's a great point, though. The money situation, we're going to, as we go through these guys, I'm going to keep talking about certain guys in that position that we can get rid of. So, with tight ends, we're going to try to have some room. But some of these guys like Jonnu Smith, he's a guy that I thought was phenomenal, but obviously a run first team like Tennessee. They had great receivers too. So when he was relied
I wouldn't mind
on
a Trey Burton realliance, to be honest with you. Yeah.
So you're looking at the bottom barrel. You mentioned Hollister. I like Dan Arnold on there. I believe he's a restricted free agent, though. That's unfortunate. But Gerald Everett, somebody I really like. Someone asked about Jordan Reed. I know he's older, but maybe he'd bring something on a veteran minimum. But he's so injury prone. I just want to get younger. So you're just really looking for a tight end 3 here.
A-Rod was able to get some work out of Robert Tonyan this past year.
Oh, my God. Robert Tonyan and Mo Alley Cox, unfortunately, I believe, are exclusive rights free agents. So they're going to sign them for dirt cheap and get them back. So they'll be back with their respective teams. But you never know. That'd be crazy if they got rid of Tonyan, though. I don't know why they would do that. But I put it on there just because people will be like, oh, didn't you know? And it's like, I know, I do.
Dude, I gotta be honest with you. Looking at that list though, like, and I'm saying this from the bottom of my heart. Jordan Reed, please retire, man. Like, his brains are scrambled, dude. Like, I don't want to see him just go out there and get hurt some more. Right? What's he had? Like 7 concussions in the ballpark of that. Like, it's time to hang it up, man.
Agreed. And Super Bowl run. Hey, whatever. They suck. Anyways, Trey Burton, somebody, I don't know if I told you the story, but I made a post and was like, would you bring Trey Burton back? Obviously with Nick Sirianni, but Philly special, blah. Somebody, he liked the post. I was like, oh, cool. And then somebody was like, yeah, he sucks. And he liked that comment. I was like,
oh, dear.
Like, no, I don't think he's coming back. So it was like, all right,
dude. Motivation.
Yeah, maybe I don't know, but I'm like, damn, dude. Some of these fans, you got to realize these guys are on social media now. So
I know.
It's funny, but there's the tight ends. I think there's definitely some intriguing guys on there, but we're gonna have to hold back because on all these positions coming out, dude, there are some tasty looking names on this list.
You got to figure out where you want to divvy the money up to.
Yeah. So I'm going to get the less pretty out of the way. Now, this is something that's very important to me, obviously to all of us. It starts in the trenches, the offensive line. Talk about Jason Peters hopefully retiring. Having Dillard come back to battle with Mailata, best man win, the other guy move over wherever. And you have Driscoll, you have Urban, younger guys to learn. Hopefully you figure things out with Brooks and Lane Johnson where they can restructure, because let's take a gander at that cap it again. Not good. So if we could just go ahead and
I really don't want to part ways with Graham, man, but I don't know how this relationship goes on.
Oh, I think what you need to do is restructure him. That was one of the names, I was going to mention, but restructure him. You talk about Ertz, but then Kelsey right there. He's the fourth on the list, the fourth highest cap hit. He would save you around like $4 or $5 mil if we get rid of him via retirement, cut, whatever trade. I don't know what we'll do there. That's sad, but it's like, look, he's part of the Wentz and Ertz show. That was when they were standing on the field at the link. I mean,
and to think about like what you would be losing in when you lose Kelsey, because you're not just gaining some capital against your cap there. You're literally like missing the entire, like pretty much the quarterback of that offensive line. That like he was kind of the cornerstone of that group, and that's going to be some big shoes to fill. Like he once Jason Kelsey's gone, he's going to be missed. His presence is going to be missed for sure.
Definitely. And that's the blow you take. You could talk about money and say $5 mil, and that brings you down to about 15 to 13-ish mil. Well, it all depends on the cap and how it's going to look. We talked about that. But yeah, he's a leader. He's a guy, he's an Iron Man. We talk about setting the record for most offensive starting lines in a year, but he was the one constant. So yep. He'll be greatly missed, but I think that's a move that might happen. But hey, maybe he surprises us, comes back, and helps Hurts. That would be phenomenal. But absolutely. That's one of those moves that could also save us some money. You see there, though, more dead money as we talk about. So Isaac Seumalo's there. I'm not sure you really need to restructure him. You could try, but he was dealing with injuries. We'll see. But you talk about tackles. There's some old heads there. Yeah. But there's some guys there that are going to demand some rightfully so tackle money. So they probably won't be on our list, like a Villanueva, Okung, Trent Williams, Ricky Wagner, those guys right there. But if you're looking for some depth, there are some veterans out there. Anybody stand out to you here that, really you would be really just chomping at the bit to get, Evan?
I've seen some good things out of Joe Haig before. Cam Robinson, another good player, but like ultimately it's kind of thin. You know what I mean? Yeah. This list isn't exactly just popping off the page as much as the tight ends were to me. So like the tackle position is very important, man. Having those bookend tackles, that is what really drives the entire line. So if you don't nail down some solid tackles, like, do you feel confident with our tackle situation we got right now? What's going to be the deal with Dillard and Mailata? Like, I would love to see some competition, but do you think it's possible? We're talking about trades right now. I heard Dillard's name get thrown out there a little bit. Are they that confident on Jordan Mailata?
They'll always throw his name out there. I think that's somebody that people don't like, so they're always going to make that possibility. Cry? So they hold that against him, and I think that the kid had some promise. He put on 20 pounds, hurt himself. Then after that, maybe that was part of it. Look, I hope he's good. We used a first-round pick, traded up, got him. I think that he's going to battle with Mailata. That's going to push him. That's great for us. And, whoever loses, they can learn the other tackle position, be a swing tackle. Maybe that's what Dillard becomes, that big V kind of guy. I know you don't want to use a first-round pick on someone like that, but Lane Johnson is dealing with injuries, and he's not somebody that, is ever going to be the same again. So
he's no spring
you need
chicken,
a tackle. Man. Yeah, and you need a tackle that can do that. And Jack Driscoll and one of the other tackles could be that depth.
Yep, you just took the words out of my mouth. I really think that this, like around this time, is where we kind of have to really start thinking about Lane Johnson's successor. Lane's been in the league for a while now, and like he's having his knee or his ankle drained, in between games. He's getting up there in years. The injuries are piling up. And like, he's a great player when he is healthy. Don't get me wrong. And I think that he can be great this next season. But all I'm saying is the clock is ticking. You really want to get someone behind him, start learning behind Lane Johnson so that he can just step in whenever the call comes. The last thing you want to do is have Lane Johnson go down and then you're stuck with nothing. And then you got to wait till the following season to fill that hole.
Yeah. And I think that's what, Driscoll was brought in for. And one of those other tackles that, whoever is Mailata or Dillard, they will hopefully learn right tackle and be able to fill in. So they'll battle with Driscoll, and I think we do have some depth here, and you talk about Nate Erbig, you talk about some of these guys that, they liked to Opeta, but this is a whole new coaching staff. So I think, they will probably want to go young, but some veterans would be nice to see. Talk about Sayamalu, maybe he has to move to center, or Erbig. We'll see there. But Brandon Brooks, like to see him restructured. So if you restructure Brooks and Lane Johnson, you could probably save around like 15 mil, maybe and up to like 18 mil. So right there, if you do that with those other moves we already talked about, just those few positions, right, you're already at zero. Like you're almost at where you need to be, but then you need an additional 9 mil just to be able to sign your rookies. So you got to also get up there. We had that 25 million left over, about 24 actually, rolling over this year, so that helped. So doing all we can. We're talking about all the things that are helping that Howie set in place. I think that there are possibilities to be made here. Obviously, that guys talk about being traded. They talk about these guys are going to be cut. I don't think so much you have to get rid of some of those guys like Brooks or Lane Johnson. I think you want to keep on to leaders like that, right?
For sure. Well, 100%. If there's one thing that I've learned since moving out on my own, is there's some things that are just worth paying a little bit more for. Offensive linemen and toilet paper. That's how I look at it.
No doubt. You got to protect, man. You got to make sure that everything's right. Now, looking at inner protection inside, we talk about Brooks, talk about Sayamalu. There's some guys here, Sweezy, Easton. There's, old heads. Brian Winters still in here. He actually just retired. My bad. List. But there's some guys out here. Galiki Osemele. Guys that can provide some depth. Maybe take a veteran minimum.
DJ,
I don't know.
Big boy, man.
Yeah, he is. He's still around too. So, and then sticking with the interior, some centers here. I don't think you'll be able to get guys like Pouncey or Mack, but hey, if Kelsey leaves, you got to actually put an emphasis on center. So if we lose that, guys like David Andrews, there's guys out there that maybe you could pick up. Matt Skura, not the best career, but there's definitely some possibilities here.
For sure.
So that's something we're going to have to look at. Any of those guys pop off to you that you'd be intrigued by?
AQ Shipley was the guy that kind of popped off the page to me. And also on top of that, a little Joe Looney action, some Looney Tunes up in the house.
There you go. Ex-Eagle, AQ Shipley. Now, look, there are moves to be made regardless if people think we don't have cap money and we won't be doing anything. There will be some veteran guys. So those are more what we're trying to look at here, guys. But I put the whole list just so people, you didn't put this guy on. He's the greatest ever. It's like, well, yeah, that doesn't mean we're going to be able to sign them probably. So, yeah. Now, back to the skill position. We released Deshaun Jackson. Now, coming up will be Alshon Jeffrey. There were some talks that they could possibly be working to restructure Marquise Goodwin and bring him back like they did last year. They had worked out a deal with him. If you see, he's actually at the bottom of the list here for the offensive guys. 4.28 mil cap hit. They had worked it out last year where it was 1.3 mil. That'd be great if they do that. So there's another 3 mil you could save with that move right there. But looking at some of these wide receivers that are free agents, that wouldn't be them. There are some phenomenal names on this list. Man. Don't get too crazy. I know. The fans lose their mind. Yeah. Look, there's no way we're getting Chris
Stop
Godwin
looking at the Chris Godwin. Yeah. Stop looking at the Will Fullers, the Juju
Robinson.
Yeah. That's not going to happen.
John Ross, Nelson Aguilar's on there, dude.
A speedster like a John Ross. I mean, that kind of fits the mold of what we're looking for here. A Keelan Cole, Mohamed Sanu. There's a lot of D.D. Westbrook. There's a lot of like promising names on here that I would like to see.
I believe Zach Pascal is a restricted free agent. He's somebody obviously played with the Colts. I think he would be an intriguing pickup if we could snatch him away, but not sure that could happen. Marvin Jones, a little bit older, somebody who definitely still produces. You got some returners, Cordero Patterson.
Man. Brashad Perryman is the guy that I said last year that I wouldn't have minded if the Eagles brought in on like just a depth sort of position. And not going to name names, but there were some people that were disagreeing with me. And I said we could use some depth in the wide receiver position. And lo and behold, we could have used some depth in the wide receiver position.
I was not a huge fan of signing Rashad Perriman for the money he was going to get. And he got some big damn money, and he did all right for a crappy team like the Jets to be able to use him somewhat. But I think he can definitely produce somewhere as a number 2. I think he's going to get more of that money this time around. And I wouldn't mind having someone like him in this offense. But I think in the draft is where we need to focus on receiver, because talking about some of these guys, I think you'll definitely add some veteran presence, maybe a Demarcus Robinson. You talk about speed. I think that's a possibility. So you name some of those names. Anybody else sticking out to you?
Yeah. So is D.D. Westbrook really already off of his rookie deal?
Yeah, I believe so. Here, unrestricted free agent.
Wow.
And Josh Reynolds too. I think that's, and Rashad Higgins. That's another one.
You imagine Nelly making a return to Philly? I can't see it happening. I can't see it happening.
I don't think his agent will even call. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think they'd be like, nah, man, they murdered that dude. Like catching babies out of that. Nah, man.
Yo, that is still one of the best interviews I ever saw in my life. I said that to my boy. He lives out in Colorado. Right after it happened, he's like, man, I miss Philly, man. It's just
wild, man.
Yeah.
I loved it. But Hilton, that's someone, T.Y. Hilton is a name that we talked about, obviously familiar with Nick Sirianni. So if you were to take a veteran minimum contract, be more than willing. I don't think we could get Samuel, but that's one of those guys that's going to get a lot of money. But he is a playmaker, somebody I would have fun with. But I think we already have that kind of mold with Jalen Reagor, and we need to utilize him.
Yep. What's your thoughts on John Ross? I mean, he's a speedy dude, and he kind of has underperformed ever since he entered the league. And I think that maybe all he needs is a little change of scenery. You know what I mean?
That could help, and also staying healthy would do him very well. But the guy obviously is fast as hell. And one of the things I talked about is, speed isn't everything when talking about this draft, because Jamar Chase and Devontae Smith, well, they don't have John Ross 40 time. I'm not, obviously that's not what you're saying, but people are just, they get so infatuated with 40 times. And it's like, look, man, it doesn't mean everything. Look at John Ross. And John Ross, if you were in the right system with the right receivers, now that they finally had receivers, T. Higgins, AJ Green finally stepping it back up, and then Tyler Boyd with Joe Burrow. That's fantastic. But, he kind of just got left out there.
That 40 time brought him up high in the draft too, didn't he? I mean, he went in the first round, right?
No,
he wasn't.
How did he go? Like second or third round, maybe. Oh. But he still, he was fast as hell, and everybody was losing their minds over him. And maybe he was a first. I drifted out tonight.
He ran like a 4.22 or something like that.
He broke like the record, dude. He's insane. And I think, like I said, I think in the right system, somebody coaching him up correctly, teaching him not just to be fast. Obviously there's a lot more to it. Yeah. So, route running and catching the ball would go well for him. So I'd be all for it though, man. We talk about adding speed. So if they don't go Marquise Goodwin route, maybe they release him and go with someone like John Ross. I'd be all for it. I want a veteran receiver to help this. It's going to be pretty much all young guys, Travis Fulgham, Jalen Reagor. Maybe I hope to bring Greg Ward back on that cheap exclusive rights free agent contract. So, it's going to be a young room. And Watkins and Hightower, too.
Yeah. Do you think that Travis Fulgham was more of a flash in the pan, or do you think we're going to see a reemergence of Travis Fulgham this year?
I think Travis Fulgham, did really well for somebody that, just got signed to the practice squad and then was thrown into the mix. And obviously defenses are going to, figure you out and, have some tape on you. He went against like James Bradbury. I thought it was really impressive. We didn't target him against the Ravens. But then in the second half, he went ham, and he was going up against Marcus Peters and Jimmy Smith and, guys that are really badass, obviously Marlon Humphrey too, but they really saw a guy that, could step up to the plate, and you could see it, with their play, respecting him. But I think Doug Peterson was to blame for a lot of, just not getting a lot of these guys, not using people correctly. And, you got to realize defenses are going to know what you're trying to do. And not saying Fulgham's a one-trick pony, but, you got to help him grow. You got to give him more of a route tree and do things that are going to help the kid improve. And I don't think we did that with anybody. So it was all over. You saw with the injuries to the line, then it was the quarterback sucked and Miles was hurt. It was just It was bad, man. Really, really bad. So, yeah, I would be okay with adding a veteran presence there, man, because it's going to be a lot of young guys. But I think Travis Fulgham's going to be somebody that is going to be a big part of this offense. I think he's going to keep progressing. And I think, like I said, bring Greg Ward back. But right there, Fulgham, Ward, Reagor, and then Watkins and Hightower with J.J. Arthega-Whiteside battling it out. And I think you give him a chance in camp just because you used IPick. But if he fails, I think they'll allow Nick Sirianni to just be like, yeah, later, dude. But maybe Sirianni finds a way to get the best out of him.
I feel like we definitely got to bring in a veteran guy though into this wide receiver group, man. Yeah. Just listing off all of the wide receivers that we currently have after we're losing Deshaun and eventually Alshon. You need to bring in would you kick the tires on? Like, he might even still be too expensive at this point. Like AJ Green is past his prime, but I think he still would be too expensive.
A guy like that, maybe you could get him to sign a real cheap deal if he wanted to come be a part of the team, helping some young guys. And you know what's weird? You see that a lot with some of these receivers, and they're the Jerry Rices and people that remember, like Torrey Holt and stuff from the Jaguars, and just weird. You're like, what the? But yeah, I mean, I'd love to see AJ Green helping out, but I know a lot of people would be pissed because they'd be like, "Oh, it's just Alshon Jeffrey all over again." And I kind of get that. So I think I'd maybe stay away from that just because I know we're in a rebuild. But if we're in a rebuild, you gotta have a veteran presence. So 100%. You never know if somebody's gonna get hurt. You got to take a chance on somebody. Why not?
Even if you stink, like the point of veteran presence isn't about being good or bad. It's about teaching the young guys in the room. And that's exactly what we need. We can't just have a bunch of young bucks teaching even younger bucks.
That's something we heard that Fulgham maybe hurt his foot, but I know he wasn't trying to use that as an excuse. So I'm not going to use that as an excuse for him. I know a lot of people were hurt, and that's what we talk about. Injuries screwed everything up. But I think that it was more than that. Doug Peterson showed that he couldn't even game plan for him. So you saw the routes he had him running. You saw what was going on, and it's Doug Peterson. So, foot and all, there was a lot going on with this team. Foot or ankle surgery. And that's something that we actually talked about at that time. And that's something that I think obviously is going to affect you, but he's a tough dude. And that's something that really excites me. He's what J.J. Arthega-Whiteside was supposed to be for us. So maybe he pushes him. Maybe they fight, and who cares, and battle it out, and they both get better, and hopefully we get the best out of them. But I'd really like True X in this draft. What were you going to say?
Yeah, you just brought up a pretty interesting name right there. J.J. Arthega-Whiteside. What are our thoughts on him at this point in his career? Is he teetering towards bust? Is he officially a bust? We got to give him another year? What do you think? Because I just want to preface this by saying I admit that I called Jordan Mailata a bust, and then he popped off this past year, and I had to eat crow because that's exactly what I should have did. Because I said I'm sick of this Jordan Mailata experiment. I'm sick of it. I don't want him on the team anymore. I'm sick of him playing the ukulele. I don't want to look at him anymore. And then he ended up coming up huge this year. So I mean, like, where do you stand with JJ?
Well, I think that we weren't really utilizing him too much, but see, Hurt's getting in here. Nice little rocket to him right there. Yep. That's what he's supposed to be doing, going up and getting the damn ball. And, I think a lot of back to, the same problems with Fulgham, you weren't using him correctly. And I'm not here to defend his play. It's been atrocious for somebody to pick over DK Metcalf, and that's what everyone really is pissed off about. Look, I'm not going to call him a bust, though, because I always say give a receiver 3 years. You got to give everybody time. Let them learn. Not everybody comes out swinging. But I think with certain receivers, you got to give them a little time. And he's somebody that needs some work. And I'm hoping Aaron Moorhead can hopefully do some magic, and then Sirianni and Steichen, whatever, just really work with this kid and get something out of him. But if not, he's teetering. He's right on the edge, dude, that they'll happily get rid of him. He'll save a little bit. It won't cost anything. It's not a big deal. So he'll just he'll be gone. But he's got to compete with Fulgham. And that's going to push him, I hope. So we'll see if he's made of glass, like everybody says. Same with Dillard, just emotionally weak. And I don't like to talk trash on people like that because it's like, look, man, they're young men, and I don't really know what they're going through. So I just hope the best for them, and I hope they figure it out, man. And, maybe they toughen up. Maybe they went through something different in life. I don't know. So, it's like I want them to be good. The Eagles used high draft picks on them. So, and look, I get it. You want to rag on people when they suck, as people do, but it's like, look, there's still a little glimmer of hope. I'm going to hold on to it. Then if he sucks, we're going to get into it next year.
Exactly.
But what's going on, Malcolm? Thanks for tuning in, man. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Appreciate all the comments and questions. Just going through all these free agents. But you talk about a lot of those wide receivers that are out there. Adding weapons, adding tight ends, talk about linemen protecting Jalen Hurts, doing what we can to make this offense better. Now, I think the one thing that we mention every damn week for the last couple of years, really, run the ball. And they just don't run the ball. So we were at one point teetering on 35% of running the ball. That's horrible.
That's pathetic.
You cannot be throwing the ball 65% of the time, especially when you're running the ball as well as we were, even with a crap offensive line. And that was before Jalen Hurts came in and was running very well, too. And that was running for his life, I know. But look, this team's going to be a running team under Nick Sirianni. I believe it, and I can't wait to see it. So people kind of forget, Eagles dumpster fire, the suck, and they want to tell me. And I'm like, look, dude, I haven't even seen this roster, what it is at 90, man, let alone 53 to judge what they're going to look like. So that's great. I understand bad things. Howie Roseman sucks. Yes, Carson Wentz is gone. Doug Peterson's gone. Cry me a river. Don't care. Look, I just think that this team has some hope. You have a guy like Miles Sanders at running back. Dude, imagine if somebody uses him. Okay, that's great. Now somebody's going to come back. Well, you only got the ball 15 to 18 times a game and still getting hurt. True. Now, that's why we talked about adding someone last year as a number 2 to him rather than 2 number 3s in Corey Clement and Boston Scott. Talk about those guys being free agents. Corey Clement unrestricted, and then Boston Scott actually an exclusive rights free agent, which is a very cheap deal. I think you bring him back. He plays that Nyheim Hines role, but I'd love to see a bruiser brought in here, a little Jonathan Taylor action like the Colts had. Obviously Nick Sirianni loved having that. He would have loved to have someone like Marlon Mack, but he got hurt. So that's somebody that's up on this list, man. But here are the available running back free agents. Who's popping off to you? Because I see a lot of names that you could get for cheap that I think would help this team.
There's a lot of names out there, man. There is. I mean, looking at Aaron Jones is going to be expensive. Chris Carson as well. Like Kenyon Drake, probably still too expensive. But a Kenyon Barner, bring him back to Philadelphia. I would be about that, man. Adrian Peterson is ageless. Frank Gore, the same thing with him. Man, there's a ton of names on this list. Amir Abdullah.
Josh Adams is on there, dude.
Josh Adams.
I think he's restricted, though.
Todd Gurley. But, he's a little long in the tooth at this point, as is Devontae Freeman. Man, the options are there. If you're looking for a running back of free agency, you really shouldn't have any trouble finding one, quite frankly. It's all about whether your pockets can afford them.
Yep, and that's what it comes down to. Hyde being brought back to the Seahawks, no doubt. Yeah, I made these. We were supposed to do this show actually like a week ago. Our schedules kind of got messed up, so sorry about that. But yeah, trying to go through guys like iBody and let you know. So thanks for the call on that, Malcolm. Yes, a little late to the party, but you can always rewatch it. Always comment and pretend that I'm actually talking because I always comment back. Gore is an Eagles legend. Dude, he is in the Hall of Fame for Eagles tenure. Jay Valai, Eagles ex-defensive back coach, just joined him a couple weeks ago. spent a really long time here, a week, and then he left.
Frank Gore's son is like, he's probably in his last year of college, right? Before he can enter the league.
I think next year is the year that he'll
be eligible, right?
So that'll be nuts if he's still playing. That'd be so cool to see.
Crazy. That'd be like, that would be as cool as like when the Griffeys were playing on the Mariners together. Like that'd be nuts. So cool.
That is really nuts. Could you imagine playing with your dad in professional? That's wild, man.
And the wildest part is how ultimately, historically, the running back position has the shortest life in pretty much all of football. I mean, they're the ones that are taking the biggest beating out of any other player on the team.
And he's a bruising back.
And all he does, like, how does he stay healthy, man? Like, he has found the fountain of youth or something. It's really unbelievable. I know a lot of people give him crap because that whole little minor stint that he had with the Eagles, if you want to call it that. Yeah, like I can't really blame him. I wouldn't want to come to Chip Kelly's team.
Well, dude, we signed DeMarco Murray after we'd already just signed Ryan Matthews, so he's like, what the like? Yeah, I don't blame him.
Yeah,
where are you getting carries?
But the dude's ageless, man. I mean, he never had during the prime of his career, he obviously had some really good seasons, but like, dude, if you just go and look at his stats, it's just 1,000-yard year after 1,000-yard year. It's so impressive, man. It really is.
And what's impressive is when he was old and people that like 5-10 years ago, still people saying he's old.
Yep.
He actually played with Jamal Singleton, our new running backs coach, assistant head coach. So he's familiar with him. Also Sirianni, familiar with him. There's some familiarity with Frank Gore, and he's a beast. So that's one of those power backs that we talk about. I think Gus Edwards I'd love, but I think he's also restricted. Damn it. So these teams would be crazy to let him go. But
what's crazy. What's crazy to think about is I remember Frank Gore popping off on the scene when I was in like 5th or 6th grade. I specifically remember it, and I am 3 years removed from graduating college right now.
I was gonna say
I remember him. Yeah, I remember him popping off when I was in 6th grade. Like that's how long he's been around, dude.
Dude, he is old man River. I don't know. He found the fountain of youth for sure. I don't know how he does it. Like. And, obviously he shows that he still has it. It's not like, and obviously he's fallen off a little. Yeah. He's not that.
He's not like you can't expect another 1,000-yard season out of him anymore, but like he will give you production ultimately.
A number 2 back that comes in and pounds the rock on the goal line. And look, I think Miles Sanders is a 3-down back. I think he's somebody that you want to use all the time, but sometimes a guy gets tired. He just busted a 60-yard gain. Miles Sanders, the only running back to have 4 60-plus yard gains in the last 2 years. So maybe he does that, gets down to the 2. Oh, I'm a little tired. Jeez. Frank Gore comes in. Boom, runs everybody over. Touchdown. Eagles, baby. Let's go. That's all I want to see. So looking at guys like that, and you mentioned AP on there. There's some old heads, that would be intriguing. LaShawn, everybody brings up every year. Come on back. He's not coming back.
There's one that was in the comments that like he's not exactly a power back, but it was definitely a guy that caught my eye. What's your thoughts on Philip Lindsay?
Philip Lindsay, I was going to mention him just due to the fact that he is a restricted free agent. I think the Broncos would probably be smart to bring him back. I think they'd like him a lot. And you put whatever tender on him. I don't think another team's going to be able to pluck them away. So. Look, I would love to have Philip Lindsay. He would be perfect, that little hard-nosed running back. I think, doesn't catch the ball as well as I would like for someone his size, but he's a good back, and I like him. Somebody he kind of reminds me of when I was doing the interview, obviously for 4th and Jawn, with the prospect series we have going on. Yeah. If you haven't, check it out at 4th and Jawn. Go check it out. Lots of interviews with awesome prospects. I got to talk to Brendan Knox from Marshall. The kid is a bowling ball. And the great thing about him is he had 277 touches there at Marshall. Fumbled the ball one time, and it was a rainy game, man.
Wow. He's got strong hands, man. That's exactly what this team could use. Is some sure hands carrying the ball.
Strong hand, indeed. I think. Sorry, I had to throw up the little strong hand there. But I think it just stirred up the potatoes.
Grab my hand.
I think there's definitely some options here, though. So All about it. Let's get this Eagles team running back too. You see teams like the Browns, how well it turned around, what kind of team they are when they didn't have Odell Beckham, and they still were kicking ass because they had Chubb and Hunt there. So
yeah,
holy hell, I would love to see another back. Maybe in the later rounds. Maybe you go high. Maybe you get an Etienne, or maybe Najee Harris. I don't know if we would go that high. I think those guys have a capability. Maybe late first round.
You think that if we were to draft a running back in the top 3 rounds somewhere, that Miles Sanders would feel some type of way?
I don't. Just because of the way that the NFL is changing, and I think he's one of those backs that doesn't mind really not getting 20 carries. I think he knows that his limit's around 18, and he can be more productive. I don't think he's one of those guys that keeps getting stronger as the game goes on. I think he does get a little better, sees the field a little better. So I think he deserves those carries. I'd like to see him get up to 20, but I'd also see like another guy or two adding in an additional 12, 13 carries per game, seeing this team running the ball over 30 times a game with a young quarterback, young offense, and a quarterback that likes to run the ball. So I think you're going to be running the ball a lot of the time, and a lot of these RPOs, play action. I think Hurts is going to see a lot of times things opening up just because of his dual threat capability. So that's going to be good for us, man. I really think.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we ultimately have to end up, if we don't address it in the draft, we have to get one of those. That list is huge of the free agent running backs, because like we can both agree right here, right, that like going into it with Miles Sanders, Corey Clement, and Boston Scott, that's not going to cut it.
We knew it last year.
Yeah, I know. So that's what I'm saying. We can't go in with the exact same thing and expect a different result.
Exactly.
So that needs to be addressed. And I think that there's a lot of potential, both in the draft and in free agency.
Yep. And I think you let Clement walk and you bring Scott back as that third or fourth back. And then you add a couple, a veteran and a young guy, and let's see this team grow. Let's see another back grow with him, dude.
Boston Scott is a running back 3, but he's got some sneaky moves, man. He really does. Like the doubles,
and he's a returner too.
Yeah, he's great. Good returner. Yeah. Yeah, he kind
like
of
Chuba Hubbard in the draft. I mean, there's guys out there, man. I think Boston would fit.
I think that so many people, because of his size and his skill set, they wanted to compare him to Darren Sproles when he came into the league. But ultimately, he kind of has that Darren Sproles kind of playing style. So, if he can continue to develop, I would love to see what Boston Scott can eventually become.
Yeah, and same, he kind of fills that role that what Nick Sirianni did with Nyheim Hines. So I think he fit in perfectly. And I think when he gets the ball in his hands, we see what he can do. Boston Scott is not a bad running back, and he's not a great running back
either.
Yeah, that's true. One thing I talked about last year was he was great to have as a third running back, but not so much as your second. And then, sure enough, first game of the week, we're starting with him. My God, I was trying to look for. I thought I had this video here. This might be it. Let's see. Boston Scott right there. Do you think it is simple dump off? That's beautiful right there. Look at that, dude. I think that's the way you utilize the back,
eyes downfield. Yep.
So I think that you saw all that motion going on in the backfield that keeps the defenses guessing. I think Nick Sirianni is really going to utilize what he has in Jalen Hurts. A lot of people, he doesn't know how to throw the ball. Well, he needs a little time. They're going to work on that. And I'm really hopeful Brian Johnson does great things with him as the quarterback's coach. We talked about Patullo's passing game coordinator, Shane Steichen offensive coordinator, Nick Sirianni head coach. Great. Now, I think those guys all have a history. Well, I know they do, but they have a history with quarterbacks, receivers, like we talked about earlier in the show. That's fantastic. So this is all going to make Hurts better, running the ball. Talk about receivers. Now, before we get going, we're going to talk about that last position, the guys that are going to help out Mr. Jalen Hurts himself is what we talked about. But now we got to worry about
cream of the crop.
We got to worry about bringing in a backup because, as you can see, Carson Wentz is gone. Whoopsies. And then you see right here that Nate Sudfeld is
get him out of here.
He's out of here. So I think you see him, sayonara. But there are some intriguing names on the free agent list that I think would be a great veteran presence. Maybe draft one on the third day. But who do you like here on this list?
Some of these guys, I can't believe they're still in the league. Yeah. But dude, as much as he has torched us in his life, how about bringing in a little Fitz magic into the mix? I will be about it. I gotta be honest with you.
Yeah.
I would be about some Fitzmagic. I wouldn't mind kicking the tires on Jameis Winston at all. Like figuring how our offense runs. I think that would be an interesting guy. But other than that, I mean, I don't want Joe Flacco. I don't want Joe Webb. I don't.
How do you feel about Joe Webb? F you, man. I'll never forget that game.
Yeah.
How do you feel about someone asked me today, Trubisky? I was like, I think I'm good on that.
Yeah, I think I'm good on that as well. I think I've seen everything that I needed to see out of Mitch Trubisky in Chicago. You guys made a huge mistake taking him at number 2, and I'm just gonna let you guys kind of sleep on that one.
Dumbest move they could have ever made. Wow.
Yeah.
How do you pass
over 2 like generations?
Jawn and Patrick, dude.
Yeah.
You're crazy. You're crazy.
And they traded up. They traded up to get him. They're like, oh, shit.
I never laughed so hard, man.
Mitch isn't going to slip all the way that far.
I laughed. I knew it. I was like, they're
Okay,
dumb. Yeah. I laughed so hard. I was like, yep, that's not going to work. You're an idiot. You're a straight up idiot. And look, it didn't. He's out there, but I think there's better names. You saw Jacoby Brissett on that list. That's somebody I really like. I thought Nick Sirianni really did a lot of great things with him with the Indianapolis Colts.
That's that connection as well.
Yeah, that's a veteran that could come in and knows Nick Sirianni what he likes to do. And I think he could definitely help along someone, with that same dual threat ability as Jalen Hurts could definitely help him.
Yep.
That's the same with guys like you saw on the list. Cam Newton was somebody that was mentioned the other day. Hey, why not even? I'll be real with you. Oh, and Ryan Fitzpatrick, you mentioned. I like that. But Tyrod Taylor, I think that's another one.
Yeah.
I would definitely like.
Tyrod Taylor is a guy that honestly I think never really got a fair shake in his chance in the NFL. I think
that doctor shot him and broke his rib this year, and that's why Herbert got to play.
It's crazy, dude. It's crazy because I thought he was in Buffalo the same time as Fitzy, right?
Yeah, they had to battle it out.
And they had to battle it out. And honestly, I thought Tyrod Taylor was a pretty good freaking quarterback. And I just think that he's a guy that really we haven't seen his ceiling yet in the NFL. And he's probably getting a little bit up there now. He's probably around 30.
Oh, he's got to be. He's been playing for a while, and I think playing for a while. He's not somebody you want to come in and be your starter. That's not what we're saying. He's somebody that's been through what Jalen Hurts is going to go through, and can help him.
He fits the scheme of what we're going for. They have similar playing style. So, if Jalen Hurts were to get injured, the playbook doesn't change that much.
Exactly. So, I think those are some great names, and those are a lot of the things that we can do on the offensive side of the ball we mentioned. Now, next week, want to bring you on. Want to talk about some of these defensive players.
Yes,
and there's guys like Derek Barnett costing $10 million. Malik Jackson, we talked about, is going to be cut. That post June 1st we mentioned. Yep. So that's going to save us money. Talk about Brandon Graham, hopefully getting restructured. There's a lot of guys. Rodney McLeod, you could save $2.8 million there. Don't know if you move on for him. You saw that Jalen Mills was on that list as a free agent. So guys like that. Fox, my lord, that cap hit was astronomical. Let's bring that up real quick. Fletcher Cox. 23.87. We got to restructure that, man. I would love to see Slay and Graham do it as well. Javon Hargrave.
And we talked about on previous shows too how that isn't exactly what Fletch is worth.
Playing too, yeah, exactly. So I think he will, and I think that we'll all be like, oh, okay. And dude, if you make those moves I just mentioned there, you could find yourself $20 million over. You could have room for free agents, and you could definitely add guys where you give them a couple-year contract even, and you back end it like how he does. But this is how you move things around, and that's how you get yourself to be able to sign some of these guys. So we'll definitely be able to get those back-end guys that we mentioned.
Absolutely.
Well, guys, it's been that time, and I truly appreciate all of the comments, everybody tuning in, dealing with me going Nick Sirianni on you, posting the wrong clips of people. Hey, that's fantastic. But, Evan, it was truly a pleasure, as always to have you on, man.
Always is. I appreciate you having me, Jimmy.
Well, you know how I roll. I always like to give you this time to any last words, let people know where they can find you, all that great stuff.
Yeah, come check me out on 4th and Jawn. Go follow 4th and Jawn. Check out Jimmy's been doing a lot of Talk to Prospect stuff, as are the other writers in there. We're really trying to get an eye on the guys that are coming out in the NFL draft and, try and figure out who they are as players, who they are as people, and get a good sense of who could potentially end up on the Birds. But you can find me at Hollywood Hearn on Twitter and just Evan Hearn on all my other social medias. Go check it out. You might like some stuff. Who knows? But thank you for having me, Jimmy.
Of course. And you will definitely like it. You'll have a great time. Always check out 4th and Jawn. As always, like I say, guys, we are doing the work. We are putting it in. And there's just great content for guys you want to learn about in the draft and just everything your heart could desire. So it has been a great Thursday night with you all. Hope you're all having a good one. Staying safe. Evan, thank you again for joining
I'm ready
us.
for
We'll
it.
have you
I'm
on
ready
back
for it.
next week. Oh, he's ready, dude. He's pumped up. He knows you guys know what's coming. But I thank you all for tuning in. Have yourselves a fantastic night. And as always, go